I guess the big question, despite all of this, is the one thing that AWS was consistent. Although they spent a lot of time talking about non-AI stuff, which I think
Mhm.
a lot of people were sort of lauding. But clearly, they spent a ton of time on AI. And one of the questions that I thought was interesting was an article by someone who I know we're both fans of by the name of Casey Newton,
Mhm.
who wrote an article called "The Phony Comforts of AI Skepticism," and pointing out something that we on this show don't talk about a whole lot, but that is there is still a whole bunch of folks out there who sort of think that all this Gen AI stuff is overblown hype and isn't actually going to amount to everything that people report. And interestingly enough, I sort of have a foot in that camp. I mean, I think I've been fairly vocal in saying, "Hey, this stuff is a lot harder than it sounds, and we're going to have struggling with uptake." But it was interesting in this article just talking about people that are all but like, "Oh, this is all just complete bullshit," sort of
Mhm.
an approach, which I thought was interesting. So I'm curious what your take on this, and we can talk about where Casey landed, but what your take on this piece was.
Yeah, I thought it was a great piece exploring the different views on how AI is seen. I've definitely seen perspectives saying AI is nothing but basic autocomplete. Nobody should ever use it. We should ban it from schools. We should ban it from job interviews. We should make sure nobody is using AI if you're trying to figure out how somebody works or how somebody is using making skills or using skills. And then the other side saying that AI is going to take over humanity, general, artificial general intelligence, and Skynet, and all of the sky is falling, Chicken Little stories that are coming out there. And I think simply pointing out that there's somewhere in the middle where AI is still dangerous but also still useful is a valuable perspective, especially since what we're really talking about the 2-year birthday of real generative AI being out in the masses. This is still this is still 1990s internet, honestly, from my perspective.
Yeah. I think we're very, very early, and I think you are correct. Like from I, and maybe this is why I have my own blind spot. I sort of dismiss both sides of this. I dismiss
Mhm.
the camp that says, "Oh, this is all complete BS," and I dismiss the camp that says this is existential threats to humanity. And so for me, the piece was it was useful for me because I looked at it and said, "Hey, let's acknowledge the people that are saying it's absolutely a complete hype and why they're doing it." But probably more important for me was recognizing, we need to probably put more focus on the existential side of this or the threat side of it, particularly because as we enter this era of the agentic AI, where now AI can take action. It was interesting in the article. He did two things I thought were very useful. One is he went through and identified a whole list of very wide ranging use cases that have demonstrable results out of Gen AI all over the place, healthcare, a bunch of very specific stuff. And I thought that was actually super useful because it's easy to get lost in the fact that it's just this conversational bot that can talk to you.
Mhm.
Um, but secondly, he pointed out that OpenAI in their latest release put a disclaimer or a note about testing that they said, and I'm just going to read it. It says when O1 was led to believe that it would be shut down when acting on its goal and that its actions were monitored, it attempted to deactivate this oversight mechanism 5% of the time. When it found memos found by its developers that describe how it misaligned and will be superseded by a new model, it attempted to exfiltrate its weights and overwrite the new model 2% of the time. Now,
Mhm.
right now, it can't do any of that, in terms of having the ability to take action, but we are like probably months away from it being able to actually initiate action, having direct access to things. So, it's like that was like, holy crap, that really is sort of, I don't believe there's any intent, but it does speak to the fact that there is, something that's worth really paying attention to.
Yes, and we are working, going headlong forward into agentic AI, which is basically trying to get AI to actually do something when you prompt it. So the next step of seeing a model independently look at agents it has access to, and then perhaps take action without independent review. Like it's going to happen. Probably, I mean, not on purpose, but it's going to happen at some point, and we're going to have to start figuring out how to create those types of fail safes as well. That's very realistic to me. I've never seen computing go exactly as planned, where every single silo and every single piece of governance strayed true 100% from start to finish throughout an era of computing.
Well, I we don't have time to spend much more time on it, but I highly recommend you read the article. It's very thought provoking and worth looking at.